guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'll be talking about salaries in China as an ESL teacher. Okay, so first and foremost, it varies. It varies depending on your location. For example, China is a big place. It's separated by tier. So you have tier 1, tier 2, so on and so forth. The tier 1 cities are like Shanghai, Beijing, the big cities. And then you have the smaller cities, which would rank down to tier 3, tier 4. So for example, you can get a salary, let's say you're getting 30,000 kwai in Shanghai, and maybe you're getting or more or less, it depends, it varies. And let's say you're getting maybe 20,000 more or less in a smaller city, right? I'm giving you an example. Now, everything is based on different factors. One, your location, as I mentioned, the bigger cities versus the smaller cities. Also, it depends on your experience. Now, your experience, for example, me, I have a bachelor's in business. Someone else, for example, might have a bachelor's in education. So maybe if the both of us apply for the same job, maybe I'll get 20,000 and maybe they'll get 25. Maybe also based on the country that you're from. For example, China works with native English speakers. So sometimes you have native, non-native. So let's say that person is a non-native, right? And I'm a native. That also plays a factor. So as a native speaker, you'll get more than the non-native person. And also, depending on your qualifications, meaning maybe you have a bachelor's in education versus someone who has a degree that is not in the education field. Maybe also depending on the number of years that you've been teaching, you get it. So all of that plays a factor in how much you'll get. And also your negotiation skills, because it's not like everywhere else in the world where you're offered a salary and you just have to take it. Most times in China, you can negotiate. And usually, maybe you won't get what you asked for, but maybe they'll meet you close to halfway or more. Yeah, so that's something. Let me see. I'm looking down because I made some notes. So another thing to consider, the salary. So you have the salary, which is usually a set amount. Of course, you have tax. But then the way how it's set up is you have housing or housing allowance. Now, housing means you get an apartment. So usually the school will send you pictures, or they'll assign you with like a agent, like a rental agent or something that will help you find an apartment, and you can choose the one you like. Or they'll give you a housing allowance, which is, let's say they say, okay, your housing allowance is 2,000. We'll send you this money with your salary. So if your salary is 20,000 and your housing allowance is 2,000 or 2,500, 3,000, whatever, they'll send that to you at the end of the month when you're getting paid, right? So if let's say they give you a housing allowance that's 2,500, but you found an apartment that's 2,000, then when they send that money to you, you'll get to keep the extra 500. You get what I mean? So you have two options. You have the housing allowance, or you have the apartment. Usually I prefer getting the apartment, just in case I find an apartment that's more than the housing allowance. Like currently, where I'm at right now, my current school, my apartment is more than the housing allowance. So I actually have to put the additional money on the rent myself, which is fine. So those are the two options. Another thing to consider when you're talking about the salary, because everything is, it comes like, the contract comes as like a package, you know. So when you're choosing the job, you're choosing the most attractive package. So the next thing is the renewal bonus. The renewal bonus is like, if you've worked with the company for 1 year, then if you choose to stay another year, you'll get a bonus. So it's called a renewal bonus. And that money also varies. It depends on the school. You have flight bonus as well. Like usually with most schools, because we're foreigners in the country, and they know that usually sometimes we want to travel back home to see our friends and family, so they'll give you a flight bonus. Usually, because the tickets are so expensive, most of the times from what I've seen, it doesn't necessarily cover the entire ticket, but it does a lot. So all of those things play a role. So you have the base salary, you have the renewal bonus, you have the housing, you have the travel allowance, and you might have some other perks as well. Like with me, I get lunch at school. Like in my case, you have 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I don't actually have to say, oh, I have to buy lunch. And it might seem like, oh, it's just food, or I don't know. But all of those things play a part in salary, because at the end of the day, when time comes for you to book your flight back home, you don't have to be thinking that you have to find all that money yourself. When you're hungry and you're eating at school, you don't have to think, oh, I have to buy groceries to cook lunch, or I have to, you know, like I feel I have to go and buy food somewhere, because you know you eat at school, and then you have the travel. You don't have to think that, oh, my rent is due, I have to go pay rent now out of my salary. No. So when you get your salary, like with most people here, when you get your salary, the most that you do is you pay your utilities, light, water, gas, Wi-Fi. Some apartments actually do come with Wi-Fi. And you buy your groceries. That's pretty much it. So the salary, like, it's good. Like when you compare the salary, for example, let's say you're getting around 4,000 USD, right? Like when you convert it, it's around 4,000 USD. And maybe if you'd work in the US for 1 month, maybe you would have gotten more than 4,000, right? Maybe. But because the cost of living in China is so low, like, words don't describe how cheap everything is. Like, words don't describe how everything is so cheap. You know, in Jamaica, you go to work every day, no one is at home, you just come home and you maybe use the fan, watch a little TV, and then you go to your bed, and you know that all day the fridge is plugged in, right? But at the end of the month, you will still get this high bill, like someone was home running a whole business in the place. Like the bill is so high. Like it's not the same here. Like the bills cheap. Like if you turn off all the lights and you go travel somewhere and come back, chances are the bill will just be like $0, not dollars, kwai, 0 kwai, 5 kwai. Like it will reflect what you use. And even if you're using the AC, same. So the salary package, it's very good. Very, very good. And the expense that you'll have on a monthly basis is low. And that is why too you can save so much. You know, you can save so much, you can travel, you can have a good quality of life. Let me see if I missed anything. I spoke about the different types of, I didn't speak about the different types of school. Let me tell you, you have different types of school, and that also plays a part in the amount you'll get for salary. For example, you might just have a regular public school, regular private school. You have international schools. international schools are the ones that are pushed, like really pushed, and usually like you'll have foreign students in those schools, right? You'll have usually those in those schools, the workload is much more hectic. So you you will, chances are, be getting a higher salary. But for me personally, I don't really only consider the salary. Well, I consider the salary, but I look at it from different angles. For example, if you're getting 30,000 in Shanghai or Beijing versus 20,000 in a smaller city, I think it amounts to the same thing. Why? Because in those big cities, things are more expensive, and all of China is cheap, but at the same time, everything is about location. So for example, I can go to the shop now and buy one apple for maybe 1 kwai. But maybe if I was in Shanghai or another big city and go to buy the same apple, I would get it for 3 kwai. You get it? I can call a taxi here and maybe let's say I spend 8 kwai. Maybe in the same city, I would spend around 16 kwai. Why? Those cities are big, so you have more traffic. Maybe where you want to go is a little bit further away. These small cities, like everything is kind of close. So if I want to go to the bank, I know it's just around this road, I can walk. But maybe in those big cities, you want to go to the bank, maybe it's a little bit more distance. And because it's a big city, you'll have more traffic. Therefore, the taxi might be more, everything might be a little bit more. And all the more adds up. And more spending. You're in a bigger city, there's more to do, more nightlife, more foreign parties, more restaurants to try, more of every little thing. So you find that you spend more. And the same, like versus in a small city, there's less to do. So for example, on a Friday night in a big city, maybe you come home, you go to a bar with some foreign friends, so you're spending at that point. In a smaller city, you come home on a Friday night, maybe you don't have that. You don't. Like for you, like maybe on the weekend, maybe you'll have to travel somewhere and you're tired, so maybe you're not going to do that all the time. So location plays a very big role in your salary and your spending. Okay? Yes. Okay, guys, that's all. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. Questions, leave them down below. I'll definitely answer them. Okay, nice chatting with you. Bye.